Hi guys, I hope you're having a great day. Today we are going to try to imitate the Auntie Anne's pretzels, okay? Pretzel bites, pretzels, it's the same dough. Okay, these are the ingredients, okay? Water, salt, brown sugar, vegetable oil, or butter, then white sugar, and all-purpose flour. We're not going to use bread flour or anything. We're just going to use 2 cups of all-purpose flour and we should be good. Okay, this is some dough, and so we are going to use our mixer instead of just hand kneading it. If you don't have a mixer, you can hand knead it. It just may take a little bit more time, but we are going to use a mixer today. And so we'll go ahead and get started with 1 cup of warm water. You don't want it to be over 110 degrees, so not like boiling hot. This is not for your tea. It's just gonna just to be just a little bit warm for the active dry yeast to begin to activate. Okay, and so first we're gonna put in 2 tablespoons of sugar into the water to give the dry yeast something to eat, and we're gonna mix the sugar in, and then we're gonna mix the active dry yeast in, and then after that we're gonna let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. All right, so we're doing 2 tablespoons. I've put in 1 tablespoon. This is the 2nd tablespoon of the granulated sugar. This recipe does require 2 sugars, brown sugar and white sugar. For the yeast, we're going to use the white sugar. And then also for your active dry yeast, this is 1 packet of yeast. But if you buy your yeast in like bulk, this is equivalent to about 2.5 teaspoons. Well, two teaspoons and 1/4. Okay, so then you'll just measure that out from whatever bulk packet that you have. And so you can either use the packets that are already, measured out, or your bulk packet that you have. Okay. Okay, we've added our sugar and the 1 pack of yeast, and we're just going to stir this around. And then after we stir this around, we are going to cover it with a sheet of saran wrap, some plastic, and then let it sit for about 10 minutes to allow the yeast to fully activate. All right. Okay, so first, while we are waiting on the yeast mixture to finish activating for that 10 minutes, we are going to make sure we have the right hook on. We're taking off our balloon whisk, and we're going to put in our flat beater for this first part of the mixing. My gosh. Okay, trying to do this with one hand and then recording with the phone at the same time. All right, so we have the flat beater on, and I have washed my hands. We're like, she touching all on the thing. But yeah, so the flat beater on, and then we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of white granulated sugar, and then 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and I have light brown sugar. One teaspoon of salt. Okay, and then you can do either 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, or you can do 1.5 tablespoons of butter. Just see what the Lord say, and that's what you can do. I'm feeling like I'm probably just going to do the oil. It's easier just to pour it in. All right. All right, so added the vegetable oil, and if you did butter, you just want to make sure it's melted. Yeah. Okay, we are taking off the cover off of this yeast mixture now, exposing it to the light. Okay, so take this plastic off. Again, we let this sit for about 10 minutes with the sugar, and it has done very well. We are very proud of you, Mr. Yeast. It's risen very, very well. Okay, and so we're going to go ahead and add this to our mixture. This is what it looks like. All right. going in, all in. I'm all in. All right. Okay, so we've added in those ingredients. We're going to close our mixer in, and then we're going to mix this at low speed until all this stuff is fully combined. Okay, so I have to push this in and pull it down, so I'm going to set the phone down for a minute so I can close this. All right, so we're going to mix it at low speed. I'm going to do 1 to 2, just whatever you feel and whatever kind of mixer you have. Just low speed until everything is combined, and you'll be able to see that it's combined. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to add in 1 cup of our all-purpose flour. Okay, this is unbleached, and we're going to add that in, and then we're just going to mix it gradually, and then add the 2nd cup. Okay. And just kind of stir this around and loosen it up just to give it a start, and then we're going to hook our flat beater back on to mix it. Okay. And we are still going at low speed, very low speed, just at 2. Okay. Okay, this is the condition of our dough. Right now it's still very loose, wet, and liquidy. And so now we're just going to clean this hook off, and we're going to add in our add on our 2nd hook, our dough hook, and then add in our 2nd cup of all-purpose flour. Okay. Again, loosen up your chunk of dough, and then we can go ahead and continue mixing. Okay, we're going to keep this at low speed until the flour's combined, and then we're going to mix it at medium speed. Just trying to get as much kneading done in the stand mixer before we have to hand knead it. Okay. All right, we're going to take it up to medium speed now. All right, so that is the consistency of our dough right now. And we're going to add in 1 more 1/2 cup of flour, of all-purpose flour, and then mix again, okay? All right, and again, we're just going to loosen this chunk up and put our dough hook right back into the thick of it, okay? All right. Okay, low speed, then medium speed, okay? All right, medium speed. Holy Ghost! Holy Ghost! My God! Okay, so now our dough, it looks like it's ready to be put on the flour, and then we're going to hand knead it some before we begin to separate it. All right, clean your workspace, and then we're going to add flour and knead our dough. All right, so we're going to grab our dough out of the bowl. You want to make sure you have plenty of flour on your hands and that way things are not sticking to your hands as much, okay? All right, add some flour to the top just to make it easier to get your dough out of the bowl. So this is our ball of dough. We have plenty of flour here. We still have some that sticks to our hands. Sometimes you can't win, but we will begin kneading this by hand, and we will add plenty more flour. All right. And we're just going to do this for about 5 to 10 minutes, kneading it by hand. All right, we're going to add a teeny bit more flour. We've kneaded for about 2 to 3 minutes so far. And so just a teeny bit more flour, and then we're going to knead for about 2 more minutes, okay? All right, our dough is in a really good state. I really am proud of the condition of this dough. It's very pliable, not too hard, not too rough. And so we're going to now clean out our bowl. We're going to use the same bowl. What we're going to do is put this into a circular shape, and we're going to lightly grease the bowl and allow it to sit there and rise for a few minutes, okay? All right, so we're not going to use the mixer bowl. I'm going to use this bowl just because it's a bit more wider and just gives it more space to do all that it needs to do. The mixer bowl is a little bit taller and more narrow, so we're going to use this one. I'm going to take this and put some vegetable oil in it just very lightly, and put this into a circle, place it in there, and let it sit. All right, we've added our dough, and so now we're going to cover this plastic wrap just very lightly. Still has some air, and we're going to leave this here for an hour to let it rise, okay? 45 minutes to an hour, whatever one you think is best. Then it also depends on what climate you live in, and so whether it's hot or whether it's cold, whether it's very humid, and so leave it according to that time, and just check back to make sure it's rising and not descending, okay? And while you're waiting on your bread to rise, you can start cleaning around your area, okay? Okay, so we have about 5 more minutes waiting for our dough to finish rising. Right now we're just going to prep this area, again, cleaning it up very thoroughly, very hot water, soap, and we're going to add some oil to this surface, just some light oil, and then we're going to prepare to separate our dough. Rise, dough, rise, 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 dough, rise, rise, rise. All right, this is our dough. It has risen. Oh, little hole there. All right, so we're just gonna grab this out. Oh, it feels so nice. It's in such a good condition. All right. Put it here. My God, my God. This is beautiful dough. Beautiful, beautiful dough. Beautiful dough. All right, and so we're going to cut this into 6 pieces, and then we're going to roll it out. And depending on what shape, if you want to actually do like the pretzel shape, or if you want to just do like the pretzel nuggets, I think we may just do a little bit of both. And but we're going to start off cutting it out in 6 shapes. While we're doing that, we're going to get some boiling water, boil some water, because we're going to dip the dough in the water and baking soda mix before we put it in the oven, okay? All right, so instead I did 8 pieces because we're going to do some nuggets and some whole pretzels. All right, so we're going to pull out this one. We're going to roll this out and begin to shape it, and we just put those back in the bowl for now. All All right, so we've got our first mini pretzel. This dough is very elastic. It's in a very elastic state, and it very much just strings back. So I'm just going to show you here just a second. All right, so wrap it around, let's see, and then it just kind of shrinks in together. And so the dough is very soft. And so this is the first pretzel, and I did eight balls, and so I took like the two smallest ones from the bottom and then the two smallest ones from the top, and that's what I'm going to do the whole pretzels with. And then or we may do mix and match the big ones for the nuggets. Okay, so our water has come to a boil. This is about 3 to 4 cups, and then we're going to use Old Faithful, Arm & Hammer, baking soda, and we're going to mix that and dip our pretzel dough in before we put it in the oven, okay? Okay, so we've got our bowl. This is 5 tablespoons of baking soda, and we're about to pour in our water and then mix it up. Ooh. Holy Spirit, activate. Holy Spirit, activate. Activate. Okay. So, ooh. My. It smells like some good cleaning supply. I'm just mixing this all together until all of the baking soda is dissolved. My. And so we have a cookie sheet here with some parchment paper on it. We're just going to put some oil on it, lightly oil it, and we'll place our pretzels and the pretzel nuggets on here when we're done, okay? At this point, we also want to preheat our oven to 425 degrees. We dip these in for just a few seconds, just 2 seconds. And then I'll transfer them over to our cookie sheet. And we're cutting these into about teaspoon, tablespoon, bite size, depending on what size you want your nuggets to be. That's what you can cut them on. Okay, we're going to pop this pan in the oven for about 8 minutes. Again, your oven should be preheated to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? While we're waiting on those to get out of the oven, I'm pulling out another pan, and we're going to fill this pan up. Remember to lightly oil your pan with some vegetable oil. This dough smells so good, you guys. I love fresh bread, fresh dough. It smells so good. Okay, so for our covering, we have about 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter, and we're going to mix in some white sugar and cinnamon if you want the cinnamon sugar covering for your pretzels. Or you can do like sea salt or kosher salt, just to sprinkle it over the top after you dip it in the butter, okay? So we've got some sugar here. We're going to pour some cinnamon in. About a teaspoon or so cinnamon, and mix it together. Okay, so our first batch is out now, and so they're nice and golden brown. We're going to dip them in the butter and then dip them into the cinnamon sugar. And depending on like how much, how you like your nuggets to be, like whether you want it to be just a little bit more crunchy on the outside, then you can bake it a little bit longer. If not, bake it a little bit less. Like I've done some for 4 minutes, some for 8 minutes, completely in the oven, 6 minutes, and then just continue to coat whatever way you like to. All right, this is our second batch. We did that 6 minutes, and then we're going to do the same thing with the butter, with sugar and cinnamon and or salt, okay? So, you see that, son? Pretzels for you, pretzels for me, pretzels for everybody, okay? This is cinnamon sugar, and some with kosher salt. They are absolutely delicious. Auntie Anne's, where? But yeah, so I do recommend putting them in the oven for, depending on like your the way your oven is set up. Yeah, you may want to do like less, like maybe like 6 minutes, instead of like the full 8 minutes, unless you want them to be like that extra golden brown, more the color that you would get at Auntie Anne's. These are a little bit lighter, but a little bit softer too. But I mean, they're both really soft on the inside. But leave them on there for 8 minutes, and it's going to be a little bit more crunchy on the outside. It really just depends. But then when you dip them in the butter, it gets softer as well. So just depends on whatever you like. And so I hope that you enjoy this recipe. Yeah. God bless you. All right, so this is these are like the ones I left in for the full 8 minutes, and they're still soft on the inside too. They're just as good. I mean, just absolutely delicious. And those ones I left in for about 6 minutes. And in these, I don't have any seasoning or butter on them. They're just plain. And so if you just want them, it's just bread. If you just like the pretzel dough by itself, and then also you can freeze your dough. I still have that dough left. Probably going to freeze that. Okay. And, yep. All right, now I think this is the final goodbye. God bless.